What's up, guys? It's EJ and Emma.
We're back.
Sorry for a little bit of the delay. It took me a little longer to get home after the 6 o'clock class, making sure the trash was taken out, everything was shut down,
Look at
um,
you.
and the door was locked. I wanted to make sure everything was secure.
It's a good coach right there.
Um, well, it doesn't really go into the fact that I screwed up last night, didn't complete everything. So I owned up,
Well, a
wanted
lot
to,
of people don't realize like part of your job as a coach is also janitor.
yeah.
So, and I forget all the time. I'll leave the gym. I'm like, dang it! I said I'd clean the bathroom today, and I forgot. So it's easy to forget.
It happens.
But
I
good thing
get
we're
it.
there like every day. So, wee. I
um,
I figured something out.
what?
If you want to hear, we spelled a word wrong in our intro song thing. I'm gonna see if you can find it after.
Oh no. What?
And it's a word like we should not be spelling wrong.
As in I spelled it wrong?
You spelled it when you made it.
Oh shoot.
I saw it and I was like, well, are you gonna go back and look?
uh, that's embarrassing.
It's probably been that
What
way
a
since the
fool.
beginning, which I kind of want to just leave it at this point.
Uh-oh. It's in the intro video?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I spy with my little eye. Do you find it? I'm curious to see if like anyone watching will be able to.
Now everyone's gonna go into the videos. What did they screw up?
Well, I was like, oh, I'll just text him. I was like, you know what? Let's make it entertaining. Well, do you want me just to tell you? It's going to make your
Yeah,
life
tell
easier.
me.
It's on the handstand push-ups one, and it's the word fitness. We got two T's in
Oh,
there.
yep. Fitness.
Yes. But I kind of just want to leave it at this point. Yes.
I was like going through it really fast. I'm like, no.
I was giggling that like
There it is.
we've just not noticed. I think I might have noticed it like a week or two ago, and then
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have some form of dyslexia. So that's all right.
oh no! All right, well,
It's cool.
blame it
Whatever.
on. Sorry, my
Um,
dyslexia got the better of me.
as I always tell Randy, or anytime someone at the gym corrects my writing on the whiteboard, I spell something wrong, is that I was elected to lead, not to read. So I don't worry about my spelling. Just sound it out.
Just
It sounds fine. I spell it, it sounds out.
there's a couple extra letters in places that they shouldn't be, but you know what? That's fine.
I'm okay with being illiterate. Anyways,
Anyway, let's hop in.
all right, guys. Welcome to Grit Daily Dose again with E squared. Today, well, I guess we should do everything. We really try to be a one-stop shop, all science and experience-based knowledge, whether it's on supplements, nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle, to bring you guys an honest education, hopefully to help you on whatever journey you're working towards, whatever goals you may have. Today, we're talking about cold water immersion. I've been going through a lot of the, we both read what are called reps, and it's research explained. What is it? Research explained.
Peer. Oh, I don't even know.
Da, da, da.
They probably pull it up faster than me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Research explained in practical summaries.
Yes. Which there's another
E.
company that does it as well. They're called Mass, MASS.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I really like this because it's through Lane Norton, who was my first coach I ever had. So he works with a group of other PhDs, master's degrees, all these really knowledgeable people that they go and they do meta-analysis of a lot of studies. And so this time we're going to look at cold water immersion. How effective is it? Is it really a useful tool for recovery? And then what, if any, to what extent or frequency should we be using it? Is if it's effective? Um, but yeah, that's what we're going to get into today. So, do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
I was just basically gonna chat about what cold water immersion is, and then like what the
Yeah,
quick benefits would be. So, cold water immersion, obviously, you just immerse your body in cold water. The more, the better. So, you'll see a lot of people their first couple times, and then you try to stay in. I'd say what you'll see anywhere from like 2 to 5 minutes is probably the
that's
average.
like if you're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like for me
So
when I first got into it, I'm like 45 seconds. Get me the f out of this
yeah.
thing.
So and that's kind of elicits that panic, um,
The fighter
the fight or
flight.
flight, and basically trying to teach your body to get from the fight or flight into the parasympathetic. Like there's a lot of mental things. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people will do it for like mental health reasons, but like the general reasons would be circulation, um, immune system, thyroid issues, and then I mean it gives you spike of energy. If you've ever jumped into a cold lake or an ice bath or anything like that, you get a little boost, a nice little zing of energy after.
Little
Um,
adrenaline shot.
yeah, so a lot of people will. You can do it in an ice bath or in your bathtub, or you'll
Hmm.
see a lot of people get those like super fancy cold water immersion tubs, especially athletes. So, yeah, it's really there's a lot of benefits to it in terms of that have been found to link to it in terms of like thyroid and just general recovery, energy, things like that. So we kind of wanted to talk about that today because it's definitely one of those things that hit the market or like hit social media and blew up. And a lot of people were trying to figure out like, okay, is this legit or is it a fad? And so we wanted to talk about why it's helpful, but also how a lot of people can get stuck in that circulation of like, oh, I need to do it to become this way or that way. It can kind of get you stuck in that, I don't know, like hamster wheel of, what everyone is doing. So we
Yeah,
just wanted to talk about the studies that we read and what we found. And but I would say overall, it's a pretty good, like it's a reasonable and reliable recovery technique. Um, Even some people, if they don't have a immersion way, they just take a cold shower. Like some people
yeah.
enjoy that um, enough. A lot of people really just do it for the mental benefits, like
I know
fight.
some people. Yeah, some people have done like the hot cold shower, cold hot. They get into a
Yeah,
cold shower and then they heat it up,
yeah.
so it shifts blood real quick, and then you bring it back.
Hmm.
Good way to
So
wake up for a lot of people.
yeah, it's just I think like sitting in something. If you have maybe a life where you're relatively comfortable and you're not pushing yourself super hard, a lot of people like
Mhm.
to use that as a method of like I'm going to get comfortable in the uncomfortable. I'm going to learn how to breathe through it or stay calm. If you have a lot of stress, it can be a great way to practice breathing, stuff like that. So there are definitely written benefits. Um, if if none physical, then there's a lot of mental. So,
Mhm.
and we know this through CrossFit too, right? Like there's a lot of mental toughness in CrossFit. Um, if you're not even talking about the physical parts. So, yeah, let's
Right.
kind of dive into what we found. Um, Do you have anything to say on that before I?
Oh, it's just like, so it's like today we're going to talk primarily about how it affects the body, its effectiveness on muscular recovery, and if there's any data that supports it possibly holding you back
Mhm.
from having progress. Now, like obviously, there's the main pillars
Mhm.
of recovery, which is your rest, your food, definitely stress management. Um, they obviously they can't be replaced by any supplement or alternative recovery method, but if you want to maximize possible muscle recovery, um, you I'd encourage people to experiment with additional recovery methods, whether it's like meditation, or help with stress management, or possibly cold water immersion. But well, as we get into this, there could be some things that uh, you may think is the right thing to do, but it could be holding you back. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So with the first one we're going to talk about, so we looked at one of the reps articles was cold water immersion, a hot recovery tool. Yes, it's just very, very popular, and compared to other recovery techniques, muscular recovery techniques, it's very, very. It has shown to be very effective. We're talking more like um, massage therapy to what was it? Thames machine.
Mhm.
Um,
It
now,
like there's a graph that I was looking at about just comparing to the other two. Did you see that one? I don't know if it was in, might have been in issue 9. Um, and it was really interesting because it just directly compared it to other
mhm.
recovery techniques. And they were actually, it definitely, cold water immersion was definitely higher up there on effectiveness. So, which
Yeah,
is good to
there's
see.
things you can do like cold air exposure, cold water immersion. They gained like a lot of popularity in the last few years. Same thing as ice baths or cold showers, that stuff. Um, have come more like a self improvement and discipline, um, and it's gotten really, really big into the sporting world. So
Mm. Yeah.
there's also like different forms of cold water immersion that can help with boosting, again I quotes, boosting recovery, um, including like the warm water to cold water, the contrast therapy. um, and so previous literature had originally investigated like all like the recovery methods we had just talked about, and like their effects on recovery markers, and even performance. Um, but when comparing with other recovery modalities, previous studies looked at one or two recovery outcomes, and quite a bit of data is lacking the actual effects on physical performance. So they're looking at like, was there more repair or like a quicker repair in muscle status or muscle soreness, maybe? Um, but did that actually improve or help them build muscle
Hmm.
versus just having baseline recovery and feeling better?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. What else do you want to look on?
I just like how he breaks up. So basically, um, they made sure to be fair on comparing cold water immersion to other versions of regularly used recovery techniques. Um, so some of them were contrast water treatment, warm water immersion, active recovery. Um, what else was there? Was like I mean, even like Theraguns, just in massage, like things like that.
Mhm.
What was the other one? I can't think of the other one. There's all sorts. I think they even said some sort of sauna, like just really anything that you would think about people
Yeah.
using in a recovery form. And it would definitely showed that cold water immersion was just as effective, if not more effective in certain areas, right? But they just said a word of caution to like, hey, if your goal is to gain muscle, cold water immersion will actually work against that goal. So, especially directly after working out. Um, so, kind of EJ and I were breaking it down in more like relatable terms instead of
Hmm.
kind of sciencey or like long sentences or whatever. So, when your body needs repairing, there's blood that rushes to that area. And it gets warm and like, right, because you got lots of blood going in that area. So in recent years, they've found that injuries do better when they are not immediately put under ice, but as opposed to maybe heat or at least some movement. So maybe someone sprains an ankle. What you would ideally have them do is instead of sit down, put their ankle up, elevate it, and ice it, you'd actually have them try to get movement in, even if it's the tiniest toe wiggle and ankle wiggle or rotations. If they can walk on it a little bit without irritating it too much, that's ideal. And the whole idea is to get the body doing what it naturally does to heal the injured area. So the body goes, oh, that area is injured. Let's send white blood cells. Let's send um,
Hmm.
blood to like flush out that injured area, infected area, whatever it is. And that's a natural response. And so when we immediately meet broken down muscles after a hard, long lifting session with ice, we can be endangering that natural response that our body has to send blood to that area. And then obviously, this is paired with sleeping well, stress management, eating plenty of food. So you want to get that
Right.
post workout meal to feed those muscles. Um, so, we know that the benefits on inflammation and swelling or even pain with ice is helpful, but
Yep.
when it is directly following something where your body would naturally send blood to the area and kind of warm it up and get flowing, that's where the problem can arise. So um, basically, they say if you're training in hypertrophy or any specific muscle mass kind of gaining phase, like that is not the time to dunk your body in water, in ice cold water. Oh, there it is. That's what I
Yeah,
was
this is the
talking about.
graph. I think you're
Yeah.
yeah. So they took cold water immersion therapy and they compared it with contrast water treatment, warm water immersion, active recovery, DOMS, which is just dealing with delayed onset muscle soreness,
Hmm.
virtually. So, well, they didn't compare it with DOMS. They compared it. That's just abbreviation, and then obviously creatine kinase, which is just the creatine response in your body. Um, so,
Cryotherapy. Okay, that was the term I was thinking about, but I couldn't. Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah.
verbalize
So
it. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, cold water immersion did better than all others who were that did better than contrast water treatment, warm water immersion, massage therapy, and active recovery, except it didn't do better than cryotherapy. That's the only one that's shown to be better because you actually have moving cold water that you're surrounded in. So you do have constant variation. You'll hit essentially it'll be a little bit like contrast water immersion,
Mhm.
but it's uh very different. I don't know how to explain cryotherapy. It's like I've done it once and it was a weird experience and it was
You're like,
definitely
hello.
helpful.
Yeah. What do you
But
think about those? What are they called? Like sensory deprivation tanks or whatever. It's like a bunch of salt water and you like float in it and it like.
oh, I did that. Yeah. It's really easy to fall asleep.
Yeah, that's what I'd be worried about. I don't know.
You definitely feel weightless in those.
I don't
Um,
know. My
those are
friend said
really
like
good
the
for
first time
stress
he did it, he
reduction.
kind of like panicked. You have to like not, but he was like, I don't know, and then he had to keep practicing every time he went. Don't panic. This is okay.
So across the board, what we're looking at is that cold water immersion did better than cryotherapy in pretty much every single aspect, as compared to the other modalities of recovery, or the method, yeah, the different modalities of recovery, which is really cool. They measured flexibility, power, delayed onset muscle soreness. They looked at strength. It was really, really interesting reading through this and then seeing the different points that they favored, and then at what times. So they had a test at 1 hour, at a 24-hour period, 48 and 72. 72 cryotherapy really helps with delayed onset muscle soreness, which is really,
Mhm.
really impressive for cryotherapy as compared to cold water immersion. So I just wanted to share that because I know you were talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked how it broke it all down.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess it all comes down to like, if you like to do it, great. But maybe you're someone who likes to do it and you're like, you're currently in a muscle building phase and you're seeing the negative impact that it might have on your muscle building, then maybe slow it down, right? So
Right.
reduce the frequency, or don't do it right after you lift, maybe first thing in the morning. Um, so, before you start your day, or reduce the time, or maybe just do it twice a week instead of 4 times a week, like whatever the difference might be. Or the other side of the kind of where the benefit can be from, if you're someone who is running a ton, or you just have like a ton of cardiovascular demand. Maybe you're someone who's super stressed out. Maybe you're an athlete in your competition season. So, there are benefits to getting that like rebounding recovery. Um, so I think it's all about like timing and application and
Hmm.
what your goals are. Just
Yeah.
like anything else, right? Like pretty much everything else we talk about is like, this thing is not for everyone. So you need to know like, what are your goals? What does your life look like? And I know that my brother and his wife are super big into cold water immersion, and because they've got some autoimmune disorders and metabolic diseases, like are and so like a lot of our people in our family have issues like that. So they've found that it really benefits their energy, or maybe the flare ups that they have. Like, so they have their own reasons for doing it. And so
Hmm.
for me, that's like all I could ask. So when the question comes up, like, oh, is it a fad? Is it legit? My only, like, I guess I would maybe frustration with it is that it's just another one of those things that people try to push so hard. And really, it's just another tool. You don't need it.
Hmm.
Like, you will not lose all your gains if you don't dunk your head in the ice bucket for 5 minutes a day. It's just another tool that you can use if it's something that you find that you've enjoyed, whether it's, helps your recovery or your mental health, whatever it is. um, then great, use it. But it might need to change or fluctuate depending on your life, stuff like that. So I think it's very applicable.
Yes.
So
The other thing I would wanted to look at is, can you overuse it, or can it hinder you? And you're talking about the negative side effects.
yeah,
So this other study we looked at was like, it was called "Don't Freeze Your Gains," and
yeah,
so, and all of the research that these guys look into, and a lot of times we go into their actual studies and look at the actual studies themselves versus just reading what these guys have set up. Um, and all their studies are within the last 13 years, except for one, and it was from 98, and it was about what was it? It was about the feasibility of creating a checklist for a scientific methodology like assessment. It wasn't necessarily just about, it was just making sure they had something within um, their study that gave validity to how they're assessing and what methods they were using. So this one was all about the effects of post workout cold water immersion on muscle hypertrophy. Um, Ultimately, what did they find? The combination of resistance training and post workout cold water immersion led to actually worse gains than resistance training alone. Now, getting into that, what do they mean by post workout? It focused mainly on cold water immersion
Mm-hmm.
as a recovery method. That someone would put their body in cold water for anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes right after their training session. So it's like put in perspective, like people like from our gym, like if I got done with training before class or whatever, taking the class and I did my lifting and then I went right into a room and jumped into a tub, that's actually possibly hindering me building muscle,
Mm-hmm.
possibly having a negative effect. So, yeah, like you said, cold water immersion remains a hot, almost pun, um, but a hot topic in fitness. For recovery purposes, yes, it has the potential of being very, very useful, but it can be overused. In this study, what did they test throughout these all these studies? What they really did is they looked at 8 studies. They pulled a total of 160 participants from them that fit a particular criteria. And if you guys want, you can go through here and these studies and look at the specific criteria. One of the things I'll go back on the back end and I'll put all the links to the actual individualized studies that they looked at. Um, and so they looked at a plethora of data from all these studies, which including participants like sex, their training status, their age, um, looking at the volume, intensity, and the body part that they trained. Um, and so they really dialed in the assessment of these guys' bodies and the training styles that they were doing. Ultimately, what they find that throughout their assessment and their evaluation of it all, that uh, the negative effect of post workout cold water immersion on muscle hypertrophy is minor. It's minor. It's not gonna, like you said, it's not gonna completely destroy your gains.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but while the review, I'm trying to say, this the study also um, saw some good data on the effects of post workout muscle protein synthesis, the effects that cold water immersion has on post workout muscle protein synthesis. Um, so it can also have negative effects on that. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Doesn't mean cold water immersion will destroy your gains if you do it after your workout. It might have a slight negative effect on muscle growth um, without really boosting or providing any real recovery benefit for you, except for maybe, like you said, the feeling of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so much better
Yeah.
um, after being under cold water for a few minutes. Like that's the reality. I
I
What these studies have shown and what I've read in other material is that doing it like once or twice a week,
mm-hmm.
better if you have 2 off days, doing it during your off days as active as a part of your active recovery, not as a immediate post workout recovery tool. If you are going to do it on an actual workout day, you work out midday, then do it in the evening. Go ahead, you're going to say something.
I just think to kind of put that all in a big bow, it's like don't get so caught up in fancy recovery things like this that you completely discount the amazing effects that 7 to 8 hours of sleep can do, getting all of your not only like your calories in every day, but your balanced, macronutrients or heavy micronutrients. Like, just remember the basics. Stay active, get outside, like exercise every day. Like, do the like simple things, and then if you want to complicate things more, then have fun with stuff like this. But don't forget that like all of this is not a lot of people have a giant tub of cold water to dive into every day, and they're
Yeah.
still doing just fine. So yeah, so I it's so easy just to get caught up in it and be like, oh, I need this to perform better. It's maybe. And if you want somewhere to start, then start with cold showers. Like,
Yeah.
I used to do I'd take my shower, and then the last 2 minutes of every shower I took at night, I would do cold showers. So
Yeah. Yep. I think that's
I
pretty
don't
much.
feel like it had any direct impact at all, but I just did it to see if I could do it. So I did it for a couple weeks, and I was like, I don't really notice a change other than the fact that I'm cold as heck when I go to bed. So now I'm just not going to do that anymore. I like being warm.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All right, guys. It's it. All we have for today. It's a little bit shorter of an episode that we have for
I
y'all.
know. I don't think we
Um,
ever had this short of an episode.
no, cold water immersion is pretty short, sweet, and to the point. Can't wait to talk more. I think next week.
We got it quite a few.
Yeah, we have a quite few options we might go through. Make sure we get that figured out. Yeah, yeah. Good,
Got
good lineup of topics coming up. That's all I have
in
to say.
in 2 weeks we're gonna recap the Rogue Invitational.
Yeah, yeah. In 2 weeks, because that is next weekend. Rogue Invitational is next weekend, so we'll recap that. Excited to do that. Next week we might hit like where to start if you want to be a nutrition coach, or a coach in general.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll create the material. Can't wait to see you guys on the next episode. Thank you for joining us. Catch you on the next
Have
one.
a good night.